Hey kids, this is a great story called The Legend of Spookley the Square Pumpkin. Pumpkins are usually round, but this one is square. Many of you have seen little videos of this one, so we're going to read a pumpkin story. Spookley the Square Pumpkin, written and created by Troiano. One day in a pumpkin patch, the strangest little pumpkin hatched. Spookley wasn't like his friends. Where they had curves, he had ends. So they were round and he was square. Spookley was different. He was odd. He was rare. Spookley the pumpkin wasn't round. He was square. Different looking pumpkin. While the round pumpkins had fun rolling along, poor Spookley sat there shaped all wrong. He tried and he tried with all his might, but he just couldn't budge. He just sat tight. He couldn't roll. He was a square. The other pumpkins teased him because he wasn't square. Spookley wished he was round and he could roll everywhere. That is, until one night when they all discovered it's fine to be round when the weather is fair. But there's times it's better to be square. So there's a storm brewing. Halloween was just one day away. A mighty storm blew across the bay. It tossed the round pumpkins to and fro. It snapped their vines, and off they'd go. Bouncing left, slamming right, banging, bashing. What a sight! Spookley sat there, filled with fright, but glad to be a square that night. Well, he was kind of glad to be a square because he was sitting tight, where all the other ones were round balls rolling around. And he was a square, and you can't roll a square very well, can you? Suddenly, the fence gave way. And there's a big crash of lightning. And here, if you can see, the fence ripped open. 3 pumpkins rolled out into the bay. Ah, there they go. Oh no. Spookley knew what must be done. It was up to him. He was the one. He teetered, he tottered, he tipped and he tried, and then finally he flipped and he was on one side. Again he tipped, again he flopped, again he flipped, and then he stopped. There he is. Right in the gap where the fence had snapped, he blocked the way. The hole was capped. So remember where the fence ripped open? Spookley sat right in the middle where the pumpkins were starting to roll out into the water. All the pumpkins shouted, "Hooray!" Spookley the square pumpkin had saved the day. Then a pumpkin hit him with a whack. He thought his shell would start to crack, and then another one hit him with a thump, and another one with a smack. Are they being mean? No, they're round pumpkins, and they're rolling. Oh no. Look at all those pumpkins. Do you guys see Spookley? Then one by one, a ton of pumpkins piled on the stack with a bang and a crash and a crunch and a crash. And then it all went black. So here is Spookley, and all those pumpkins are piling on top of him. Kind of like when you play hog pile and everybody jumps on top of you. Oh boy, what is Spookley gonna do? At dawn, When the storm had stopped, the farmer came out to check his crop. He picked up his pumpkins one by one, and he laid them out in the warm, dry sun. And then the last was moved away, and the farmer could see what had saved the day. So here's Spookley sitting in the gap. An odd-shaped pumpkin, short and dense. He was wedged against the broken fence. Its shell was bruised. Its stem was too. But there was brave little Spookley sitting straight, strong, and true. Right then and there the farmers knew that all the seeds he'd ever sown, Spookley was the most special that he had ever grown. I wonder what made him special. Maybe his helping heart. The next year, when it was time to sow, he sowed those seeds in every row. He watered and weeded and watched them grow. And oh, that morning about mid-June, when the pumpkin patch began to bloom, there were tiny pumpkins everywhere. Hundreds of them, hundreds. And most of them were square. But look at all those different looking pumpkins. Are you ready to see them all? Some were cubed and some were rectangular. Some were flat and others triangular. There were red, bright red ones and 2 rows of blue, a blue pumpkin. There were polka dotted pumpkins and rainbow ones too. There were thousands of colors and hundreds of shapes. And oh, what a garden variety makes. Now every year on Halloween, Spookley's patch is quite a scene. People come from far and near to see what wonders grew that year. They stop, they gawk, they gaze and they stare. Look at that. And then they pick a pumpkin that's round, triangular, or perfectly square. Would that be interesting? Well, now you know the story of how Spookley grew, and maybe someday you will tell someone too. They will go and tell someone who will go tell another, and then maybe one day we will all discover that you can't judge a book or a pumpkin by its cover. So, boys and girls, was Spookley a very special pumpkin? He was. He was different, but he was very, very special. I hope you enjoyed this story. Have a good day and be safe.